So grateful to have you here, Susan Michel. This mic is all yours.
Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of my newly published book entitled Surrender to Joy: From Suicide to Serenity, which teaches the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which I have been studying now for 33 years. And it is truly my GPS, my navigational system to bring me closer to that place of heaven that I crave, which is in my mind. That is the most, one of the most important things that I'm learning from A Course in Miracles. There is nothing to find in this world. The world is nothing more than an external reflection of an internal condition. So that state that I have been craving for as long as I can remember, people call it different things. It is referred to by many as that state of enlightenment that is available to me each and every moment when I choose to remember who I truly am. You know, my book starts out, the introduction states, "My passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation." When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. There is nothing to find in the world because there is no world. Now, that takes quite a number of years to really understand what that means. But I do know that whenever something externally has become too important to me, I tend to lose my connection to my creator. And that has been a lifetime challenge. Now, today's lesson, the workbook for students, has a lesson that most Course in Miracles students will do the lesson of the day. So each workbook lesson corresponds to a particular day of the year. And so today is the 223rd day of 2023. Oh, that's interesting. It's the 223rd lesson of year 2023. And the subject is, God is my life. I have no life but his. So I woke up this morning, and I usually listen to the lessons on Audible, and then I read them through myself, and then I go into my 30-minute meditation, and that really plugs me into my God socket first thing in the morning. So it's a really empowering way to start the day. Lesson 223 states, "I was mistaken when I thought I lived apart from God, a separate entity that moved in isolation, unattached and housed within a body." I mean, A Course in Miracles is telling us that a lot of our fear comes from the fact that we feel separate from our creator. But the truth is, we are never alone. God is the ocean and I am one of his waves, but the whole power of the ocean, the whole uh, bounty of the ocean, the whole majestic quality of the ocean is available to me whenever I remember that I am a part of him. I like that analogy. I am never alone. I am always being guided. I am always being directed. The only reason I sometimes feel fear, the only reason I sometimes doubt the direction I'm going in is because I'm blocking his word. I'm blocking his guidance. I'm blocking his love with my egoic negative chit chat. So what I try to do as often as possible is still my mind so I can hear what God is saying to me. And then here in lesson 223, Jesus writes, "Now I know my life is God's. I have no other home and I do not exist apart from him. He has no thoughts that are not part of me, and I have none but those which are of him." So it is really important to embody this knowledge into our day as often as possible. And I think intellectually, I have grasped these concepts for over 20 years. I started studying this 33 years ago. It was really hard for me to understand when I first bought the book. For the past 20 years, I've really understood intellectually what A Course in Miracles is telling me. But I think to really embody these principles into my life is always challenging, because to know something intellectually, it's a start, but to actually live the principles that I believe in is an ongoing challenge. And I think probably many Course in Miracles students have that same challenge. I know I was listening to my morning Course in Miracles lesson on Audible. There are two teachers that I listen to. The first one is Carol Howe. The second one is Nook and Corrine, I believe their names are, and they're just lovely. And I know they were describing, reading, and talking about lesson 223, and they were very teary-eyed and quiet as they were reading through the lesson. And it was clear to me that they were embodying the message of the lesson, because when we really embody the message of what Course in Miracles is describing, and we really feel connected to our Creator, there is so much joy that we feel. Like words cannot even describe that peaceful state of mind. It just overwhelms us, because there is so much joy when we can really release our fear, release our ego, and connect to our Creator. That's why I've always loved the biblical quote, "Be still and know that I am God." There are no words that can really describe that feeling of being totally connected to our Creator. I guess A Course in Miracles would say that's atonement, that's revelation. I'm thinking of the words that Course in Miracles uses to describe when we can really connect to our Creator. It's just so beautiful, and I can feel it pretty clearly in most of my morning meditations right now. I pray prior to my meditation, and I ask for God's help connecting my mind to God's mind. And most mornings, I really do feel very uplifted and very much at peace. I would say I meditate for 30 minutes after about 10 minutes. So then I go into my day, and then the challenge begins. It's like when I'm in my room, and the meditation music is on, and I'm focusing on the lesson of the day, and then after 10 minutes of releasing the monkey mind, releasing the negative chit chat, and focusing on the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God, and I get into this uplifted state, and then I go in and I start my day, and then the challenges and the triggers begin, right? Isn't that how life works? We are here in this earthly classroom to learn life's important lessons, and the lessons are to learn to love unconditionally, no matter what is being reflected back to us in our external world. I listen to this meditation music on YouTube, and it is just so lovely. Sometimes I post it in my social media platforms because it's so lovely. It's called the Self-Healing Collective, actually. And they play this music, and my eyes are closed, during my morning meditation. However, every so often, they will put into the video a spiritual message. And today's message that I saw first thing when I turned on this particular video was, I am thankful for the obstacles I have overcome. It has given me strength and resilience. I am strong and I am resilient. Now, A Course in Miracles is a non-dualistic thought system, meaning only the love is real. However, in this earthly classroom, we learn through contrast. And the challenges are put in front of us, I believe, so we can see that they have no power over us. So we can see that the darkness is not real. In many ways, they shape my mind so I can connect to my loving self in a more empowering way. I mean, one of the beautiful teachers here who started this platform, Dove, or David Fishman, he talks about trusting versus trying. Trusting is our God self, when we just really trust the flow of life, to rely upon spirit totally. That is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. But many of us have a tendency to go into the world of form and to push and to struggle and to try. That's of the ego. I have needed to learn to release the part of me that feels like I have to be perfect in order to be loved. I have to struggle. I have to try. I have to push to make my dreams a reality. That's Susan. That's Susan, or myself, with a small s, to connect to spirit or self, or Susan with a capital S. There's more of a flow. There's more of a trust. And I think that in this lifetime, I have really needed to learn to let go and trust. But it's the challenges in my life that have provided the learning that I need in order to connect to my creator fully. I was talking to this lovely, lovely, amazing woman on a podcast a couple of days ago. Her name is Chelsea Childers, and it was the name of her podcast was your inner brilliance, connecting to your inner brilliance. And she loved A Course in Miracles. She wasn't as familiar with the teachings. I mean, just because I've been studying it for 33 years, it was new to her. But we had the most amazing exchange because everything that we spoke about resonated with both of us. I mean, A Course in Miracles is not the only path to God. There are many paths to God. A Course in Miracles is only one clear path to God. So it was just such a miraculous exchange that we experienced a couple of days ago. And I remember after our 60-minute podcast, I just was feeling so empowered, so uplifted, because we're always learning what we're teaching. And especially when you share with another spiritually minded individual, I believe our sense of self, our sense of God becomes so much stronger. Anyway, we were talking about quite a few very insightful, informative, spiritual messages. And one thing that came up between us was the triggers that we all experience in life. And I mean, the triggers are there to teach us. It's we can't change the world. The only thing we can do is change our mind about the world. We do not grow despite our challenges. We grow because of our challenges. Our challenges make us stronger. Our challenges are there to teach us. The darkness needs to come to the light, but only so we can see that it has no power over us. I woke up the other morning feeling a little bit funky, like I do sometimes. Then I went into my ACIM lesson of the day. Then I meditated not only for 30 minutes, I added an extra 15 minutes to my meditation because I was really plugging myself into my God socket and feeling uplifted. And then I pulled out onto the highway. I left. I had a plan to meet a friend of mine at the reservoir at 7:30. It takes about 12 minutes to get there. I left at 7:15. And then when I pulled out onto the highway, what I saw stopped traffic, and I hate to be late for things. And now I'm thinking, wow, I left early and now I'm going to be stuck in traffic. First I'm going to be late when I committed to a friend that I was going to be there at a certain time. And secondly, I just hate, traffic, period. And, I started to become upset. I started to feel the anxiety. I mean, this might be not a big anxiety trigger, right? But a trigger is a trigger. I mean, A Course in Miracles says whenever we are not feeling the peace of God, whenever we are feeling anything other than complete joy, well, we've given allegiance to the ego. So again, what I needed to do is I needed to breathe. I needed to live in the moment. I needed to release something that I had no control over. Finally, what happened is after about 10 minutes, traffic sped up. There was an accident. The accident was on the other side of the highway, but the reason traffic was stopped up on my side of the highway is because everybody was slowing down to look over to the other side of the highway to see what was going on. Finally, I made it to the reservoir. I was only 5 minutes late, I think, but my running partner was later than me because she got stuck in the same traffic. Now, again, this is just a little example of a trigger that happened. But whatever happens in life, it's just so important to remain calm and kind of give it to the Holy Spirit and stay at peace. Our challenge is to maintain that peaceful state of mind despite life's challenging situations. I mean, that's our challenge. Our challenge is to keep the peace of God going throughout the day. I think I do remember the lesson of the day that I had this little traffic trigger. It was lesson 221. Lesson 221 states, "Peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still." Again, today's lesson is God is my life. I have no life but his. I think whenever we can incorporate the lesson into our mind, we will always feel the peace of God. No matter what shows up in our external world, we will be able to maintain that peace of God, which is always available to us. We can't change outside circumstances. What we can do is change our mind about the circumstances. So that's the challenge. That's the challenge for all Course in Miracles students, or for all people. That is the challenge, to maintain that peaceful state of mind despite what's being reflected back to us by the world. I mean, if we're in any kind of situation at all and we come from a place of peace, we handle it so much better than if we come from a place of anxiety. And I think that in this lifetime, especially because of my perfectionism, I've always struggled with that. I've always struggled with coming from a place of peace on a consistent basis. Today, I was going through my Course in Miracles book and the text, and I was looking at different paragraphs that I have highlighted. I have a lot of highlights in this book. I've had this Course in Miracles book. This was my first Course in Miracles book, and you can see how damaged it is, and I have the binder taped up with this strong tape because the binder started to fall apart. I think I've had this one book for 30 years. But anyway, I really love it. There's a lot of sentimental value in this book. I have a lot of highlighted phrases, a lot of pen marked phrases. And what I was drawn to was chapter 13, The Guiltless World, Roman numeral 11, the peace of heaven. And what Jesus writes here is, in heaven is everything God values and nothing else. Heaven is perfectly unambiguous. Everything is clear and bright and calls forth one response. There is no darkness and there is no contrast. There is no variation. There is no interruption. There is a sense of peace so deep that no dream in this world has ever brought even a dim imagining of what it is. So A Course in Miracles is again telling us that in heaven, everything is just perfectly blissful. It is pure love. It is pure joy. Whereas here in this world, we live in a world of contrast. And I was at my spin class this morning, and the spin teacher is just, or the cycle teacher is just so lovely. And I always talk to him after the class, and what he started talking about today, for whatever the reason, he gave this analogy about a friend of his who always cleans her window every day. She cleans her window every single day. And at one point, he advised her to wait a few days before cleaning the window, because then she could really appreciate the cleanliness of it. The only way she could really appreciate how clean it was, if it would be if she let it get a little dirty, and then she would appreciate the cleanliness of it, because that's contrast. She would be able to compare it to the dirty window. And it really kind of brought up in my mind about how we learn in this world. We learn in this world. We know when we are at peace, because we know what it feels like to be filled with anxiety, and peace feels so much better. I guess we know how good it feels to be healthy, because we remember all the times we are sick. We know what it feels like to be in love with life, because we remember all the times we feel sad and angry. So that's how we learn in this world. We learn in this world through contrast. However, once we get to that heavenly state, we no longer will have to experience the darkness in order to feel the light. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching. And then in the next line here, it's telling us to not look to the world for our peace, love, joy, and happiness, because the only place we can feel peace, love, joy, and happiness is when we are connected to our Creator. The next line in A Course in Miracles says, nothing in this world can give this peace, for nothing in this world is wholly shared. Perfect perception can merely show you what is capable of being wholly shared. So the next line is saying that whenever we place our sense of happiness on anything that the world is reflecting back to us, that is giving us, whenever we are coming from a place of lack and we are looking to the world to make us happy, we're not going to find it in the world, because the only place we can find our connection is within. The only thing that can bring us happiness is when we feel connected to our Creator. So there are so many amazing insights that I am constantly being shown by A Course in Miracles. Another major insight is about doubt and guilt. Whenever we go into guilt, whenever we go into blame, whenever we go into judgment, whenever we go into condemnation, we can't feel the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God. So it's so important to release our guilt on a consistent basis. And the way we do that is we discipline our mind. And again, there can be a host of different tools that we can use to maintain this peace, love, joy, and happiness one of the tools that I'm really using lately is to go into my Course in Miracles lesson of the day. And I think they all bring us home to heaven. They all bring us closer to God. Again, today's lesson is lesson 223. God is my life. I have no life but his. And I am so grateful for that. The introduction of A Course in Miracles states, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And what that means is the only thing that's real is the love. So when I am loving myself, when I am loving my brother, I feel at peace. And when I go into any guilt, which I have a tendency to do, throughout the day because I'm still vacillating in and out of my God socket. But when I go into any guilt, I'm blocking God's love. But I have the choice at each and every moment as to where I want to put my mind. Do I want to give allegiance to my ego, which feels not so good? Or do I want to align myself with the Holy Spirit? And that is what gives me such an amazing feeling of empowerment. So on that note, it is just about 1:30. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susan Michel. So grateful to have you here with us on ACIM Gather for A Course in Miracles. And